Hello there, and welcome to Last Week in Esports, the show where we talk about all things important happening in 7 specific esports scenes. Timestamps for specific games are down below. Let's hop right into our first game with League of Legends. We always start with this one, and I want to start off by saying that Team Liquid has been handed their first loss at the hands of TSM, making TSM go 2 wins, 0 losses this week. So if you're a TSM fan, things are looking up. They're looking a lot better. And Team Liquid also being handed their first loss. They went 7-0 up until the last day when they faced off against TSM. And then they lost against TSM, bringing their record to 7-1. That being said, they're still looking incredibly dominant. And it was just one game where some things didn't go quite right. Double Lift still looked very dominant in the bot lane, so that's okay for if you truly are a Team Liquid fan. Let's move on to the LEC, where G2 loses their first game as well and become a defeated team against OG. G2 went 9-0 until the last day when they faced off against OG. They went the entire first round robin and didn't lose. But then OG, who had been looking clean and had been on the up and up, finally handed G2 their first loss. So props to OG, and G2 still look very good. A 9-1 record is nothing to scoff at. They are still looking very, very dominant. However, in the LCK, things remain the same. Griffin is still undefeated. We have Sandbox in second place. We have SK Telecom in third place, along with Hanwha Life sitting there with them. So, that being said, in the other regions, or in all of the regions actually, we are now starting to see a distinct separation in the standings. We are now seeing a first place, a second place, and a third place teams. So that is very cool to see. After the first round robin, that normally is when it happens. So in the LEC, we're starting to see that more, whereas in the LCS as well as the LCK, we haven't quite gotten there. That being said, we had the 9-0 G2 lose their first game, but we also had the 0-9 Rogue team win their first game against Misfits. So, after the first round robin, Rogue hadn't beaten anyone, but they came back and won against Misfits. It was a very interesting match to watch. I would highly recommend that one. Let's jump into all the other highlight matches as well. So first off, we obviously have Rogue versus Misfits, which I just mentioned. The 0-9 team actually taking a game was very, very interesting to watch. But we also had G2 versus OG to watch, which I had previously mentioned. We have TSM versus TL. Again, I had previously mentioned that one. But then in the LCK, we had Sandbox Gaming versus KT Rolster. We had as well SK Telecom T1 versus Kingzone Dragon X. Both of those were just highly entertaining matches and rather close in terms of the actual game score, or the actual games themselves rather than the game score. So very entertaining to watch. Now, some highlight matches I want to talk about real quick. Some upcoming matches to highlight would be in the LCK. We have Hanwha Life versus Damwon Gaming. Both of them are kind of middle of the standings. We have Damwon, who was supposedly along the same lines of skill as Griffin and Sandbox Gaming, but who haven't quite put together those wins. And then we have Hanwha Life Esports, who have looked much better than they have previously. They've always kind of been middle of the pack, but right now they're looking very, very clean, very dominant. They've won quite a few of their last matches, so I would highly suggest watching that match. Then in the LEC in Europe, we have Schalke versus G2. And honestly, Schalke is currently very high in the standings. I believe in second place, along with Vitality. And then G2 is currently sitting atop Europe with their first place standing. So if anyone is supposed to take them down, it should be Schalke or Vitality. So that's why I'd highlight that one. And then in the LCS, we have FlyQuest, who is currently sitting at third place in the LCS, and C9, who is in second place with their game. So FlyQuest should hope is looking to upset C9 there, and C9 is looking to truly cement themselves as a second place team, hopefully taking themselves closer to the skill level and to the expectations that Team Liquid currently has. So watch out for that one as well. Let's jump into our next game with Dota 2. Dota 2, not much is currently happening. I believe there was a minor that happened not too long ago, but no one major played in it. The teams to look out for is any tournaments that have Team Secret, that have Virtus Pro in it, and that have EG, Evil Geniuses, in it. Any one of those three teams have been looking really good. Evil Geniuses got third place at the two majors that have happened previously, and then we had Team Secret and Team Virtus Pro taking tournaments basically off of each other. One getting first at one, and then getting second at the other, and vice versa. So just watch out for anything from them. Moving on to our next game, we have StarCraft 2. So we have WCS and the GSL continuing. Just not much there, nothing too major. We haven't quite gotten to the round of 8, which is when I will be covering things more in depth. But we did have some very interesting games. We had Neeb versus Puck, where it was a Protoss versus Protoss, where some rather interesting things happened. And then we had more games. I just want to highlight some of these games. We had Scarlet versus Hero. Many of these games have very different strategies, and Scarlet versus Hero was no exception. I would highly suggest going and watching that one. Zerg versus Protoss, I believe, where some really wacky things happened. Then we have Special versus Cham, or Cam. I don't remember how to say that one. The Terran versus Zerg matchup, and Special actually went late game mech against Cham and his Zerg. So it was very cool to see anyone go mech in a Terran match, seeing as how that almost never happens. So definitely watch that one if you want to see, mech played. It was very refreshing. Definitely entertaining. Then we had Hellraiser versus E-Laser, a Zerg versus Zerg with some funny mishaps and some very entertaining gameplay. So all of those are kind of out of the norm in terms of their strategies and stuff like that. Next, I want to talk about the just 3 players to watch out for in each race, just to kind of keep your eye on. So we have SOS over in Korea for the Protoss. We're going to start with Protoss players. So we have SOS over in Korea. He's always been dominant, always looked good. Kind of played the most standard cheese Protoss out there. I believe that's the best way to put it. Then we have PT Drogo in Europe, who's also looked very clean, and he is an up-and-coming player, so watch out for him. And we have Estrella as well, who is an up-and-coming player in America, so watch out for him as well. A lot of newer Protoss players looking very clean. Then we have, for Zerg, we have Scarlet, obviously, who's playing in Korea, the only non-Korean player over there, playing in the GSL. Then we have Cyril, who has just looked absolutely dominant, looks like the #1 player, and is the #1 player currently. So watch out for him. And then we have Sue, also in Korea, who has just been a consistent standard Zerg, basically. Now for the Terrans, we have Special, who obviously makes some very distinct gameplay choices and is very entertaining to watch. He isn't very standard and it's fun to watch. Then we have Massa as well in Europe, I believe, who is very similar to Special in the fact that he kind of plays a little bit different, but he is an up-and-coming player. And then we have Bunny over in Korea, who has been really good for quite some time, so watch out for him. Now let's move on to our next game, which is CSGO. So we now have all of our teams for the IEM Katowice Major Legends round of 16 stage, which will be starting tomorrow from when this is uploaded. So watch out for that. We have the 16 teams are Astralis, Navi, MIBR, Liquid, COL, Big, Hellraisers, FaZe, NRG, RNG, ENCE, Vitality, Avangar, Ninjas in Pajamas, G2, and Cloud9. Now, those last three teams, actually, I believe quite a few of those teams, NRG, RNG, ENC, Vitality, Ninjas in Pajamas, G2, and Cloud9, I believe all came from the Challenger stage. Not entirely sure which one, if it was RNG and Energy, but I know at least one of them came through. I can't quite remember. That being said, the Challengers stage was incredibly interesting, and that did happen last week. So I would highly suggest going and watching the matches that I'm about to talk to you about. So the highlight matches are C9 versus Windstrike. That one was just very entertaining. Kind of standard, but very entertaining. Then we had G2 versus Fnatic, which is kind of a European rivalry there. Kind of rivalry. Again, that one was very fun to watch, very entertaining. And there was a lot on the line there. And then we had G2 versus Tyloo, which was the last game for the Challengers to see who got into the Legends stage of the Major. And it was incredibly close, closer than most people were expecting. Then we had Ninjas in Pajamas versus Vici Gaming, which also was very refreshing for Ninjas in Pajamas and their fans, as it kind of looked like Ninjas in Pajamas were, returning to their previous form, kind of stepping back up. While they still struggled against Vichy, it was nice to see them actually win and make it into the Legends round of 16 stage, seeing as how their previous tournament did not look nearly as good. Then we had C9 versus Furia, which was an incredibly close game that wasn't supposed to be that way. So, highly suggest going and watching that. Very entertaining. Let us move on real quick to our next game with Super Smash Bros. Melee. So, last week we had the script, the Super Smash Bros. Melee MDVA tournament series, where we had not too many big names, but we did have quite a few. We had Zane, Ginger, Absent Page, and IBDW all there. The aforementioned Zane went on to win the tournament against Ginger, who came in second. We also had Absent Page and IBDW taking third and fourth in that as well, which they both played very well. Definitely some highlight matches to go watch. Watch any games from Zane and Ginger. Those two are incredibly fun to watch, just in their own right, as well as when they face off against each other. That's all that I really have for Melee. The next big tournament should be Full Bloom, I believe, which happens in March, so be on the lookout for that one. But that one will be the next major. Now for Ultimate, we have right now we have Ultimate Summit voting going on. So if you're interested in seeing the Ultimate Summit and players specifically get into that, go over and check out the voting process for that. That being said, there was a smaller tournament that happened at the Esports Arena this past week, where Void, Larry Lur, and some of the other, larger names attended, but it wasn't anything too big. Void did happen to win that, as was expected. Anyway, nothing too special there, but if you did want to watch some Ultimate tournaments, I would suggest going and watching Void versus Larry Lur, as well as just anything from Void, as he played very well. Sorry, let's move on to our final game, Dragon Ball FighterZ, where in the last week of January, we had the Red Bull Summoning Finals, which was incredibly entertaining and very, very distinct. There were quite a few upsets. We had just some highlight matches were Sonic Fox versus Dogura. Dogura wasn't expected to do very well but against Sonic Fox, but that was a very entertaining game, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but so I just suggest going and watching that one, as it was very close. I believe that was a 5-game set. So incredibly close, incredibly entertaining. Then we had Bon Babon versus Goichi. Excuse me. Which also was very entertaining and very close. Again, another 5-game set that was closer than it should have been. Bon Babon was looking to upset Goichi in that set. And then we had Goichi versus Kazunoko as well, which I don't believe that one was Grand Finals. I believe it was to get into Grand Finals, but I could be wrong. It was either Grand Finals or to get into Grand Finals. If you have any questions about that, just let me know in the comments down below. And then we had Fenici? I do not remember how to say his name. Feniti? I cannot remember for the life of me how to say his name. So forgive me. Fenitti is how you spell it. Versus Goichi. That was also incredibly fun. Just overall a really close match. And just one that I would say go and watch. Now, I wanted to do something special before I end this episode. I wanted to recognize an organization that has been looking incredibly good as of late and is someone to watch out for. And that is G2 and the G2 Army. First off, I want to talk about how their Rainbow Six Siege team, which isn't a game that I cover, but is definitely one that has a very big scene, their Rainbow Six Siege team has won a world championship again. They are once again world champions for the second time in a row, and honestly have looked incredibly dominant as of late. Just an unstoppable team. Many consider them, actually, I think it's just like a fact to say that they are the best team to play the game. So, G2 and Rainbow Six Siege, if you are interested in that game, go watch some G2. They are incredibly good. Not to mention their CSGO team as well made it into the Majors Legends round of 16. And they're always a good competitor. They're always someone who looks to entertain as well as bring really clean gameplay. And then, of course, their League of Legends team has just looked unstoppable. There's only one team so far who has taken a game off of them. So, props to G2, as well as you have people like Westballs in Super Smash Bros. Melee, who is a G2 Army member, and all of their many streamers and content creators. All are incredibly entertaining. So, shout-outs to G2 and their team. Anyway, that is it for last week in esports. I will catch you guys next week. Thank you, and bye-bye.